LDBC, this is your boy Coach Shelton Harrison. You're live on the Coach Shelton Harrison Boxing Show. Zone 6, I caught your video, man. I catch all your videos, okay? This ain't no diss video, so everybody just pipe down. Ain't a diss video at all. I ain't finna go there. But I'm not finna say that I'm some historian. I ain't finna say all that, okay? I ain't no historian, man. And I know how you roll. I know what you do, and I know how you get, okay? So it's cool. I ain't no historian, and I ain't finna claim to be, okay? You a historian. You and guys like Andrew Senior, y'all historians. I mean, people, you just got to go ahead and admit that, okay? I learned something when I watch a video of yours, and I'm going to tell you what I learned from your last video, okay? It was a good video. I ain't finna diss you, man. But here's what I'm finna say. Okay, maybe some guys don't know anything about boxing. I know about boxing. I may not understand the history part of boxing, but I understand how to box. If that really makes sense, okay? I understand what to do when you get in the ring. I understand why you shouldn't place a jab on the chin every time you throw a jab. I understand why you need a jab to the chest. I understand what the lead foot does is roll. I understand what your back foot needs to do while your lead foot is displaying lead foot dominance. I understand why you need to rotate on the ball of your foot through a hook. I understand that you shouldn't just stand there and just hit a speed bag. You shouldn't just stand there and hit a heavy bag, the uses of a heavy bag. I understand that. I understand that most people don't even know that you slip a punch by watching the shoulder. You don't slip a punch by watching the fist. You slip a punch by watching the shoulder. A lot of people don't know that. I understand how to fight, okay? I understand the nuances in the ring. That's where my experiences come from, okay? So, no, I'm not the best historical data person. No, I'm not, okay? But I tell you, I know how to fight. And I'm going to drop this video, and I drop all my videos because my whole thing is I want to see two guys get in the ring and fight. I'm thinking like a fighter. I don't think like a promoter. I don't think like a governing body. I can't think like that, but I'm going to think as a fighter. And so here you go. Okay, the first thing, okay? The first thing, okay? Let's talk about Errol Spence and Keith Thurman. Let's talk about it. See, years ago, Keith Thurman said, listen, I'll fight anybody, anytime, anywhere. I'm not afraid to let my old go, baby. I ain't afraid to let my old go. And it's about right around the same time that he was telling Paulie, Paulie, if the money's right, Paulie, don't duck me, son. You know, he was saying that, okay? And that was right around that same time frame. An interviewer asked Keith Thurman. He said, listen, Keith. He said, man, what are you going to do when these young guys start calling you out like you calling out all these big names? Because it seems like these guys don't want to fight him. And, yes, I agree with the Keith Thurman duck list. I agree with that 100%. I agree with that duck list, okay? But what is Keith Thurman doing? Okay, so Errol Spence Jr. done called him out before. Called him out. Keith Thurman says, well, Errol Spence got to do something. See, I'm thinking like a fighter, okay? I'm thinking like a fighter. I'm not looking at his rank. I'm thinking like a fighter. Keith Thurman said he'll fight anybody, anytime, any place, anywhere. I'm not afraid to let my old go. But then he says, well, Errol Spence need to fight somebody. Okay, great. So that's where we are with that. That's what put the thought in my head. Okay, this dude don't want to fight Errol Spence Jr. Now, you said that Errol Spence Jr. ain't SHIT. Okay, good. In your mind, he not. But I know that you are a Manny Pacquiao fan. Yeah, I know you're a Pacquiao fan. And let's talk about this, okay? Pacquiao, Manny Pacquiao, the guy that you think is SHIT, okay? The guy that you think is SHIT, he knocked down the guy in Chris Algier 6 times, okay? Now, I'm going to say that you think Manny Pacquiao is the SHIT. He knocked down Chris Algier 6 times. Had Chris Algier doing gymnastics in the ring. I mean, it was beautiful. So, the guy that you think is the SHIT knocked the guy down 6 times, but the guy that's not SHIT knocked the guy out. How you going to explain that? So the guy that is the SHIT couldn't knock the guy down, but the guy that's not the SHIT knocked the guy out. Okay, I don't know. You got to try to explain that to me, okay? Maybe you can educate me on, what makes Errol Spence not SHIT, okay? He's a good fighter. Okay, he knocked out a guy. He knocked out a guy that the Hall of Fame Manny Pacquiao couldn't knock out. He knocked out a guy that Amir Khan couldn't knock out. He knocked out a guy that Ruslan Provodnikov couldn't knock out. Okay, I don't know. Errol Spence, in my opinion, I'm thinking like a fighter. This guy has the tool sets to completely dominate 147. I think he do. Do I think there are guys who could give him problems? Absolutely. Do I think that Keith Thurman, I think him and Keith Thurman still, in my opinion, is more of a 50-50 fight. I just want to see the fight. See, I'm not sitting here thinking about rankings and governing. I'm not thinking about I make my videos based off 2 guys that need to fight. And I think, in my opinion, because, see, what Errol Spence did, what he did that was beautiful, when he knocked out Chris Algieri, remember, Errol Spence ain't SHIT, and he knocked out the guy who the guy that is SHIT couldn't knock out. Okay? He knocked him out. But Errol Spence Jr. said, listen, I am the #1 contender. Now, Errol Spence is not the brightest bulb on the Christmas tree. Guys, I'm sorry. If you're an Errol Spence Jr. fan, he really not that bright. But I tell you what, I think he's bright enough to know that he knows his ranking. He knows his ranking. Errol Spence Jr. knows where he's ranked. And he said, I am the number one contender to Kell Brook. Okay? Kell Brook know what time it is. We got to get in the ring and fight. Errol Spence Jr. said that. And then I went back and checked, of course. And yeah, he's ranked 2 by the IBF. He's ranked number 2, okay? He's ranked number 2. So, now what does the IBF do? And this is telling. I don't get into the governing bodies very much because they're all corrupt. And I'm going to talk about that later in this video. But what do? So now, instead of making Kell Brook the mandatory, see, the governing bodies can do whatever they want to do. And they do whatever they want to do. So they said, okay, Errol Spence, fight Panamaru. Okay. So if he fights Panamaru, okay, a guy that really, why would he fight him anyway when he could just go fight Kell Brook? Oh, then you'll be the number 1 ranking. Now you'll be able to fight Kell Brook. If you beat Panamaru, you'll be able to beat Kell Brook. Well, just one thing. They pulled out of the fight. Now, I got to ask the question, isn't that kind of strange? Isn't that really strange? See, I don't put anything past a governing body. Not after the year 2015. I put nothing past the governing body. But isn't that kind of strange? How Errol Spence Jr. calls out Kell Brook. And Errol Spence blatantly said, I'm the number 1 contender. And then they say, well, you got to fight Panamaru. And if you beat Panamaru, then, okay, you're the number 1 contender. Wait, isn't that kind of strange? And then, even more strange, that Panamaru pulled out of that fight. I'm going to tell you what, Coach, this ain't no coincidence. I'm sure they gave Panamaru a little bit. I'm sure the promoters, somebody had something to do with Panamaru pulling out of that fight. They can say the man injured or all this other crap. I ain't trying to hear that. They can say all they want to. But the fact of the matter is, this guy pulled out of the fight. So who does Errol Spence get to fight next? Bundu. Okay? And then we put so much emphasis on what Eddie Hearn says. I don't give a damn about no Eddie Hearn. Eddie Hearn contradicted himself in the same interview. Because first he said that, you know what, Errol Spence Jr., they didn't want this fight. And then he said, but when you look at it on paper, it doesn't make a lot of financial sense anyway. Now, wait a minute. Now, why does a guy who says a guy ducked him now he told on himself when he said it don't make financial sense. So Eddie Hearn is contradicting himself. So wait a minute. Does a fight not make financial sense or did he duck? I mean, which one? Or are you saying both? I don't put a lot of stock into what Eddie Hearn says. A lot people shouldn't. I mean, that don't make sense to me as a fighter. Because Errol Spence Jr. has been calling out Kell Brook and calling out Kell Brook. And you mean to say now Errol Spence Jr. behind closed doors, I'm scared of Kell Brook. I don't want to fight him. I just want to keep my panties on. I can't. I'm sorry. Nope. Ain't trying to hear that. I don't care what kind of data you put to it. It don't make sense. That don't make sense. It don't make even common sense. If this guy going out in public and calling out guys, and let me tell you about your governing bodies that we all love so much. Let me tell you about them. Listen, these guys can make any fight they want. Proof. How was Danny Garcia able to fight Rod Salka? I mean, what the hell? Danny Garcia is able to fight Rod Salka, the 77 ranked opponent, and you got to excuse me, because I can't remember the governing body. Sorry, my history's bad. Okay? How is Joe Smith Jr., ranked number 44th, able to go out there and fight Funfara? How does that happen? I understand a soft touch. That ain't even a touch. You cough on a 44th ranked opponent, he'll fall over. Just so happened Joe Smith Jr. was a little bit better than everybody thought. Okay, I'm just saying, how does that happen? See, I don't put a lot of stock in these governing bodies because they can do whatever they want. And I guarantee you, some promoter, Eddie Hearn, probably talked to the IBF. Hey, man, listen, is there another eliminator bout you can put Errol Spence in? Or can we do something else? Can we do this? So what do? They fight the WBO champion, Jesse Vargas. Why? So is Eddie Hearn trying to say that fighting Jesse Vargas is a bigger money fight than fighting Errol Spence Jr.? I don't know, because see, in boxing, the rankings mean absolutely diddly squat. You got to fight a name. And sometimes names are not ranked. Sometimes. You're just fighting a name. Here go an example. Floyd Mayweather gave up all his belts. He ain't ranked on, he's retired. But I guarantee you, if Floyd Mayweather were to come back, how many people you think would take that fight? A lot of people would take that fight. Even though Floyd Mayweather is no longer ranked. Even though he's not ranked anymore. But if Floyd just say, okay, I'm coming back to boxing. Floyd Mayweather won't even be really ranked. But every guy on God's green earth will take that fight. And finally, I'm just going to end the video off with this. Okay, you said that don't nobody know who Brandon Hoskins is. I do. Now, I'm going to admit to you, because I make my videos with a lot of integrity and honesty. I didn't know he fought Keith Thurman, but I've been following Errol Spence since his first fight. And I did know that Errol Spence fought Brandon Hoskins. But Zone, thanks to you, I found out one little detail, though. Now, Errol Spence put a whooping on Brandon Hoskins, and he knocked him out in the first round. But it took Keith Thurman 3 rounds to knock the same guy out. And we can't even say that Brandon Hoskins was over the hill, because he's still in his 20s right now. But Errol Spence fought him when he was a prospect. Keith Thurman had already fought 15 or 16 fights when he fought the dude. I don't know. My purpose for this video is not a diss video. This video is, I want to see the best fight the best. That's it. I want to see Spence get in there and fight Brook. I want to see Spence get in there and fight Keith Thurman. That's just how it is. So any response videos, I don't care what you make. Because going toe-to-toe with you, you know what? Yeah, okay, cool. I'll spit out what I'm going to say, but you know what? You can have it. You got it. But I'm just stating what I think. This is your boy, Coach Shelton Harrison. I'm done.